1980, and I basically just started practicing it myself and learning as I go, so to speak, which is often what life teaches us anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I won't get you talking too much because then we got to do your talk here. And I look forward to hearing more about what you're going to say.
Well, it's a pleasure to be up with all you folks.
Yeah. Let's see who else we got here. We got good old Chaplain James. We got resourceful Rita who said she was stepping away for a moment there. Exciting, exciting. It's 9 minutes, Dan. 6 minutes now, Dan. Cecilia, were you saying something, Cecilia?
I was just saying hi to Harvey. Hi, Gary. It's so nice to meet you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much.
You too, my dear. Good to see all you folks.
Yeah. Good old Texas. I was thinking about moving to Texas.
I moved here in 1970 when actually I served 2 years as a conscientious objector at the Austin State School. Moved here in 1970. It was the cheapest city in the United States to live in. Nobody knew
Mm-hmm.
about it except students and lawyers, UT, and politicians. So I didn't last long. About the mid
Yeah.
70s, 80s, everybody discovered it, and it turned into a pretty congested city. Traffic's unbelievably packed everywhere. All
Where in
Mm-hmm.
Texas are you at?
I'm in Austin. Thank God I don't have to get out in traffic much.
Oh,
Oh, thank
Gary, I
you.
love Austin. I just love that little city. Oh, goodness.
Oh, it's a cool, happening, hip, very
Hmm.
artistic, liberal, interesting, unique city. As they call it, the blueberry and the red state of Texas, and that's pretty true. Although I hope Texas is getting more and more purple. You know,
Yeah.
we don't we don't need any more Ted Cruz, all due respect. You know?
Now I have a question. Is it similar because Dallas I heard is fairly liberal and progressive as well.
If you made Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin a separate state, it'd be overwhelmingly blue, but you've got a lot of folks out in, well, scattered from east to west Texas, north and south that are relatively conservative. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's stayed a conservative state. The three major cities obviously don't have enough votes to, get the Democrats in. And
Yeah.
Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton especially, that guy's a total creep, crook. He's been indicted. He's a criminal. He hides everything. It's illegal now for any doctor to help any woman get any kind of abortion. And now they want to take and be able to go into doctors' records and see who women have been advised to even leave the state. So they want to be able to arrest doctors and health workers who even suggest to women to leave the states for proper reproductive care. It's insane how right wing Texas has become. It's absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just enough to win. you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sad but true.
Yeah.
But other than that, life's great.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I think there's like that's a whole nother conversation. All that stuff going on. There's layers and layers and layers. And I think we just have to, there's a part of me that's like, we just seem to have some irreconcilable differences here.
Yeah, and we're going through, I
And
wrote in my book, A Second Eternity, we're going through a major, major world transformation now. Everything is
yeah,
pushed to its extremes for
yeah,
one reason, so we can see what's broken so we can fix it, period. That's
yeah,
what
Oh, yeah, we gotta fix the other thing is that we keep on practicing keeping our vibrations up.
mhm,
That's the best and best we can do.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Keep
yeah,
our
Same thing.
spirits up, keep our morale up. Don't
mhm,
hate,
Oh,
yeah.
keep on loving.
And being
power.
honest. being honest, like both sides hold some kind of truth there.
I
So
don't.
like, what's that, Miss Sharon?
I
Miss
don't.
Sharon?
She don't, she said.
I don't. I don't. I wish I could.
Yeah,
Truth is
yeah,
infinite. Truth is everywhere. Truth is everything happening,
yeah,
every possibility. I was fortunate enough to see that in 1977. Infinite mind over infinite time.
yeah.
Beautiful, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. You ever seen that
Everything,
movie, oh, go ahead.
everything happens at once. That movie.
No, no, I was thinking about The Dark Crystal
No, I didn't.
by
Saw it
Jim
all.
Henson. Yeah, that's one that's a good one for right now.
Hmm.
That's a real good one for right now.
Well, I tell people just be patient. We're not going to change the fact that we're going through a whole world revolution, but
Yeah.
we can always change the way we look at it, the way we deal with it.
Yeah,
Period.
I
Mm-hmm.
say hold on to goodness, beauty, and truth.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Hello and welcome to a very special Saturday spirituality group with our very special guest, Gary Wimmer. Gary is a psychiatric survivor like many of us, and for the past 50 years, he's been a practicing professional psychic with clientele that testify to his accuracy and professionalism. So without further ado, I pass it on to Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hello, folks. Good to be with you, and thank you for the invitation, Dan. And I'll be glad to tell some of my story or answer questions, whichever way you want to handle this interview. I'll leave it up to you, Dan.
Why don't we hear some of your story first?
Okay, well, I feel like one of the luckiest people on the planet, first of all. Didn't always. Went through a lot of depression in my 20s. A musician, started playing guitar way back in the early 60s. Uh, didn't plan on being a professional musician, but I was an electrical engineer, graduated college, 1970, all defense work. I was a war protester. I worked 2 years as a conscientious objector at Austin State School here. Then started traveling, playing music. But in 1970, when I moved to Austin, I started studying spirituality, Edgar Casey, back in the late 60s. Moved to Austin in the 70s, met a couple of astrologers. They said I had a lot of ability in that area. Didn't think about it that much, but I was interested in it. Actually, I started giving readings with regular deck of playing cards, but also playing music because I could do that and make a living. I traveled for several years. In 1977, sort of out of the clear blue, I started going through this incredible change. Within 24 hours, reality had turned into something completely different. I started hearing people what they would say before they would say it. I started seeing symbols of what's going to happen next. I started seeing clocks on the wall change times and show me when someone was going to come over. This all changed pretty quickly. Within 24, 48 hours, I was in a different world. I did not know why. There was no on off switch that I knew of. So I had no choice really but to kind of go ride the wave. I started feeling these guardian angels watching me, protecting me, helping me, because the world transformed into like a big dream state. Everything was symbolic. And I really couldn't tell sometimes if I was witnessing something or experiencing it or creating it, I'd look at a random stranger 3 blocks away and think, scratch your head, and point to that building, and they would do it. And I would think, did I make that happen? Did I witness that before it happened? I couldn't tell the difference. This went on and on and on for about a week. At the end of the week, I was terrified. I was crying and screaming and praying as I ran down Guadalupe Street here in Austin, Texas. I just had it. Couldn't take it anymore. And even though I'd been feeling these guardian angels watching me, I called them the monitors, or they seemed to call themselves the monitors. It seemed like an agreeable term. I felt them, didn't see them, but they gave me a little bit of a feeling of protection, comfort. Something's watching over me, so to speak. Long story short, at the end of the week, this is 1977, January 31st, I was racing down Guadalupe Street and crying and praying and just couldn't take it anymore. A lot of folks around me watching me, concerned. Me too, but I didn't want them to get too close. I thought I might blow up, splatter me all over them. I was terrified. All of a sudden, this incredible fear disappeared instantly. And I looked up and I saw this huge light shining down my head. I looked around and none of these pedestrians, people who sort of were watching me because I was acting weird, they didn't even notice this. They didn't acknowledge it. I couldn't help it. It was so powerful, so strong. I looked back up the light and it was coming down from a crystal table about that thick. And the palms of these 7 monitors were around them, and the light was coming down from their palms. And I recognized them as the monitors. And they said, "Do you trust us?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." But blah, 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 blah. Shh. Do you trust us? One voice, deep voice. I looked around. Nobody in the street recognized them. I didn't care. I said, "Yes, I trust you. Absolutely." Long story short, within a second, I was hit head on by a speeding car. I was outside my body instantaneously, watching my body get tumbled through the car. All of a sudden, the whole city of Austin turned into a little dot, and I was expanding in all directions like a balloon, not like an arrow. And the universe, planet by planet, galaxy by galaxy, seemed to go within me because I was expanding. Got to what I thought was the edge of the universe, experienced a level of, say, spirituality, consciousness that called itself the colors. And it's when we come into the planet, we go through this level of the colors before we enter time and space and physicality. And that transformation through the level of the colors gives us the ability to use our senses and understand who we are, where we came from. So I got the feeling of the colors, went beyond it. All of a sudden, there's billions of galaxies everywhere. They roll up into a tunnel of light. Beautiful description. By this time, I had no idea who I was. That was completely gone. It was just pure sensation, and it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, fearless. I went through this big tunnel of light and ended up in infinite blue space, infinite blue time, like sky blue. And it was infinite mind. And I recognized it immediately because we're all part of it. And we all came from there. But I was not witnessing it. I was part of it. I was back with it. Inseparable. It was infinite time, infinite creation, infinite power with no bias. That was one of the most fascinating things. No bias. Infinite creativity over infinite time. Somehow in this process, it seemed like I was witnessing it. And I was pulled back through the tunnel of light, back into this universe, back toward somewhere. I didn't know who I was or where I was going back to, but where I was pretty beautiful. Had no choice. I use the term in the book spiritual gravity because it feels like I was being pulled back. And that's the way souls come into the body, by the way, from all sections of the universe, so to speak, collapsing into the mother at birth. And when we die, that's the way we leave. I saw it in such clear detail, so obvious. Never even thought about it before. But there, as I contracted into this planet near it, I saw 3 series of pictures. Still didn't know who I was. First series of pictures was 9/11 and COVID-19 and all this world transformation we're going through and shock and extremes, and that was pretty haunting. But the next series of pictures was the Aquarian Age, where everything is really quite different. It's 100 years from now, 50, 200. I don't know if there's 1 billion people left on the planet or 20 billion, but it's a completely different world, and that's where we're headed. Then I saw a third series of pictures that had to do with me. Didn't even know who I was. Saw my body on the ground, people screaming, hollering. I jumped back into my body. I'd just been to heaven. People were freaking out all around me, screaming. The driver's trying to hold me down. He was the guy who ran into me. He was terrified, and I'd just been to heaven. I wasn't terrified. It was eerie, but I jumped to my feet and tried to ask people if they'd seen these monitors, and that didn't work. I wasn't hurt at all, didn't even feel any pain. The whole car's half totaled, windshield broken, people are screaming. It was too much for me. I thought I'd just walk home. And so I started to just walk home. And then ambulance, cops, police converged on the scene. They're all asking me what happened. And every time I tried to explain factually what happened, they didn't want to hear it. And I finally, okay, this ain't going to work. Nobody's going to believe this. Nobody's going to understand. Well, you guys explain to me how I wasn't hurt then. I'll listen. They didn't have an explanation. They couldn't deal with mine. And I had to accept the fact that, okay, nobody's going to understand this or believe it. I don't care. I know where I went. They took me to the emergency room, x-rayed me. I'm fine. Not even a scratch. Again, the cops came up and talked to me because the driver, when I jumped to my feet, I pushed him back. Said, leave me alone, man. I need to figure this out. Well, he filed an assault charge on me. To sort of protect himself, obviously, because he was a driver. I didn't care. He put me, filing any charges, man, I didn't care. I was in heaven. I was in the emergency room. They couldn't keep me there. A guy came into the emergency room who was a psychiatrist. I knew his name, all about him. Blew his mind, blew mine. But he said, we can't just let you go home. So they had to put me in jail for 24 hours, actually about 48, till they could get an order of protective custody signed by a judge or my family to have me committed, which I had no problem with. I wouldn't have believed me. Bottom line, 24 hours later, I'm in jail. 48 hours later, I'm in a psychiatric hospital. Everybody liked me. The patients liked me. And every day I would get a letter, get an envelope, and write the time that the psychiatrist would come in to see me. I'd hand it to the nurse at the desk. The psychiatrist would come in, mine, random times. He'd open the letter. What's this? I said, read it. 2:35. What does that mean? Look at your watch. 2:35. Coincidence. Second day. Coincidence. Third day. He didn't want to open the letters. I was trying to display to him in real time, right in front of his eyes, what psychic ability was. Because he was a very conservative, nice-hearted guy, but very conservative, fundamentalist Christian psychiatrist who, of course, could not understand at all what I was saying about reincarnation and God and infinite mind and infinite lives. It blew his whole mind. So we kind of agreed to disagree. At the end of the week, took me before a bunch of psychiatrists. I told my story again. I ain't changing it. That's the facts. You guys are psychiatrists. You should be studying. You should be asking me questions. So yeah, there's a definite connection between the mind, spirituality, imagination. We divide it up into convenient categories, just like we divide different foods into categories. So we as humans can have terms and know what we're talking about. But really, we're all one infinite mind, seeing itself in infinite ways. I never even thought about that, never even considered it, but I know it is a fact. And since that period in my life, I've encouraged people to tap into that. How? Same way you learn to play piano or golf or shave or do anything, you decide and you practice. And when you decide to practice, you gain skill, whether it's golf or higher consciousness. And we're going through a big change in the world right now. Massive change. And it's not in vain. We're getting to see things we need to address. And that's the way you fix the holes in the boat. You see where they are first, then you get the duct tape. I'm an optimist, a lot of change, but I encourage everybody to think in terms of what a lot of people with near-death experiences have said. They all agree on one thing: as different as the experiences are, we all experience infinite love. And that, to me, is the most mind-boggling thing, because I did too. At the source of infinite creativity, at the most beautiful experience of my life, when I was unified with infinite mind, at its source, at its pulse, at its core, was infinite love. And that's how everything manifests. So the more we tune into that, the better we make our lives. And I believe there's a lot of psychiatric states that can be handled with techniques. I went through so much depression. I know depression. I'm bipolar, dealt with it my whole life. 1965, my senior prom, girlfriend broke up with me. I got a date with a cheerleader. Ended up getting so drunk, I ended up in the hospital in a coma for a week. Alcohol poisoning, 1965. That taught me a lot. I never got drunk again in my life. I spent my whole life in bars, as a musician. We can learn to improve our lives from anything, the good, the bad, the ugly. They can all teach us something. And if we choose to see that happen, click into that channel, because it's all possible. And the toughest of experiences can become the most enlightening. They can. We can't change a lot of stuff that's happening. We can't change our genes or history, but we can always change the way we look at everything. And that is true power. And that I was lucky to see, and I encourage other people to tap in. True power in your heart, in your mind, in your intentions, especially intentions. Because if you intend to grow and evolve and be kind and good, you'll find the methods to do that, to implement it, to bring it into real play by intentions alone. And if you follow through it by practice, don't be surprised if you become smarter and wiser and a master, because that's how we improve, by choice and practice and growth. That's a short story.
That was lovely, Gary. Thank you. All right, we've got some hands raised, and I've got some questions in this infinite mind here. And if you have any questions or comments for Gary, please use your infinite mind, and you can raise your hand or you can just speak out. But we like giving advantage to the hand raisers first. So how about you, Harvey? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My three favorite sins in life aren't spelled S-I-N, but the S-Y-N, and it's synchronicity, synthesis, and synergy. And the synchronicity is perfect because you're the first person I met today. I didn't know that you were going to be our speaker, if you remember when we spoke earlier, but you did. And then I saw the books behind you and I saw, wow, it's fantastic. We have had very similar experiences. haven't had anything quite like a near-death experience, but I've been near death a number of times. And one of them was the self-imposed one in 1977, only a few weeks after your experience, by the way. It was February 19th of that year where I decided to end my life. And I spent 2.5 days working on it. And the outcome of it was a shift in my life that has been with me from that point on. So I'm thinking about a couple of things. I did want to talk about something that that really was stirred up when you talked about where our world is going, and that is in what year was that? 2009. I went to a meeting at the United Nations. The room was filled with people there who were all NGOs, all different NGOs were there. And actually, I wound up connecting with an NGO and working with them for a year called Committee on Spiritual Values and Global Concerns. And it was wonderful, an opportunity to speak to them. But they didn't believe what I had to say. And this is what I said. I said, You folks are doing a marvelous job, but you are not recognizing that we have a certain percentage of people in this world who have absolutely no conscience. And we are creating a culture for them to move up into corporations and into politics. 2009, I said this. 7 years later, we finally put somebody in the White House who has absolutely no conscience and cares nothing about anybody but himself. And we are in that moment of what I would call the critical time, not only for this country, but for the planet and for everybody. But I'm hopeful that we're going to pull out of this soon in this next election. But who knows? We're gonna have to wait and see how this is going. But we have to keep our minds on the idea that we have to make sure that we don't put a sociopath in the White House ever again, and get rid of the sociopaths who are running Senate and Congress and our Supreme Court.
Okay.
So I'll stop here, but there are many other things I could talk about that. And by the way, I'm also a musician. I've been with music since I was an infant, and actually made a living for the first 11 years of my life, from 5 to 16, and then the last in 1977 again. In May of 1977, or no, a little bit earlier than that, about March of 1977, I became a street performer in New York City, playing my auto harp and singing to people in the street. Okay, I'll stop here and let other people speak.
Thanks,
All right. Oh, go ahead, Cecilia.
I was just thanking Harvey. Gary Harvey was just like you. He was a presenter too, and I'm so touched to remember all the points of his story. I'm so glad that he gets to bring it up and share with you too his amazing life also. But I'm so touched by what you said. What's incredible to me is, Gary, that the realms that you went through, the out of body, and then the falling into, the spaces that you've been seeing, like you said, to the edge of the universe. That's so enticing to me, and so such a revelation. I think you're right that a lot of people with near-death experience have the similar story, but there was a speaker before, and it was just like that, how you go through realms, and that's just so interesting to me, Gary.
Well, we are part of infinite mind seeing itself. I would have never thought that had I not been so fortunate as to be exposed to it. Sort of out of the clear blue, I thought at the time in 1977, I kept thanking my guides for the experience, eternally grateful, extremely, but why me? I kept asking my guides, what did I possibly do to deserve this beautiful experience? I had to know. The experience was in February 7th, 1977. I actually had a reoccurrence on April 1st, 1977, April Fool's Day. Months later, and I kept asking my guides, why me? Why me? Thank you, but why me? 8 months later, this is the fall of 77. I'm outside on my porch playing my guitar and thinking once again, why me? And all of a sudden, I could feel these monitors in my yard. And they sent this message to my head like a light, like a laser. And I heard their voices, deep, slow voices. Traffic stopped, wind stopped, time stopped. And for probably a second or two of Earth time, these screen credits, like the end of a movie, were disappearing in the distance at the same time they were reading this. And they said, you had this experience because you wanted to know. You were curious, like Jack Nicholson, which I didn't know at the time. You could handle the truth, so I could. So they took me and brought me back. Any problem? No, but thank you. So it didn't happen by accident. There's no such thing as accidents or coincidences, period. Fact. Everything manifests by some form of cause and effect. And we all have that power. And I happen to ask that question since I was a kid as an altar boy. I was a Catholic altar boy. Adem qui latificat juventutem. I knew the whole Mass in Latin, and start asking about God real young. I had no problem with God or Christ. I had a problem with the Catholic Church because of puberty and lack of sex knowledge and just their childishness and so forth. Uh, but I didn't have a problem with God. I kept asking God and the universe. And so in 1970, 68 to 70, I read a lot of Edgar Cayce, Madame Blavatsky, all these research, spiritual, curious. And in 1977, they took me. And 8 months later, they said, that's why we took you, because you always wanted to know. Problem? No, thank you. I'm eternally grateful for everything. And I encourage everybody to be grateful. We could live in so many much more horrible situations. Count your blessings. Have good intentions. Help your neighbor. Help your friends. Think positive. Yeah, we're going through a crazy world with extremes and dictators and stupidity but again, it's not in vain. We got to see everything that needs to be fixed before we can fix it. It's just that way. You have to see the problems before you can fix them. Thanks for showing them. You can slow down a little bit, But that's it.
Gary, um, I have a lot of questions, but I'll just ask one at a time. And when you were in the psychiatric hospital, and I don't think it was a number of times, right? It wasn't just once,
Twice.
twice. Okay. Well, when you were there, and you said you got along really well with the patients, did you discover that there were other patients who also had psychic gifts?
Oh, yeah. In fact, my roommate, a guy named Dan, a young 12-year-old kid who was my roommate, I wrote that in the book. It's a fact. Now, somebody on Amazon said I was a healthcare worker. They wouldn't have put you, a grown man at 29, in with a room with a 12-year-old kid. Well, they did. They kept the door open all the time. And I looked at him as a younger brother. Uh, he was extremely psychic, very hyperactive. His parents didn't know what to do with him, so he was periodically committed. Didn't have many social skills. He had outbursts, but the guy was extremely psychic. And we'd play chess, and he could even read my mind. No, if you move the king there, the queen there, I'll move that. Wow. Uh, there's a definite relationship between altered states of consciousness. Um, we have categories for everything in order to, know the fruits from the vegetables and different signs of the body and different parts of a car. Uh, but bottom line, no matter how many definitions we get and how we break life apart, it's still kind of a mystery. It's still kind of a beauty. It's still kind of an unfolding of consciousness, hope, awareness, love, all these things happening all at once. It's a process of discovery. So I'm not sure I was on the same answered your question, but yeah, infinite mind, it's all interconnected. And people say, how do you know if it's your imagination or your guides talking? Well, it takes practice. I asked my guides from the moment I realized, well, soon after I realized how real they were, I started asking for confirmation. Remember, folks, it says, ask and you shall receive in just about every religion in some form. It doesn't say you'll get everything you want or ask for or work for, but it does say be proactive, think, believe, because that's how we bring miracles into play. I believe in miracles. Practice them, bring them into play.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
I'm gonna tell you, Gary. Can y'all hear me here? I don't know which way I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No. Hey, two things about what you said. They will house youth with adults. Okay, that happens. From my personal experience, I know that. I was in a youth treatment center and we had an adult treatment center right on the same plot of land. We were all walking around smoking cigarettes at the same time. Um, and then there's this movie, and I'm gonna promote it again, called It's Kind of a Funny Story. I think people need to watch It's Kind of a Funny Story. Um, with Zach Galifianakis. Um, its setting is in a psych ward there. So I just want to talk about that. Everything else you're saying, is yeah, everything I hear where you're coming from with everything, how you say that everything needs to be laid out. Sometimes it's like the stones in your lithomancy. You got to lay out all of the stones and see where, make the divisions and the things like that. So I really like what you say, because I think that's the time that we're in right now. And it's so hard with, I think that what's going to happen next though is there's going to be a good shed next. Like after we get through with this, as we're moving through this next election cycle and things like that. Um then it's going to be the people that are there are going to be people that's like, I'm not dying for this, what I mean? And then there's going to be the fools that still want to die for it, and it's but I don't think we're going to go to the limit. I don't think we're going to go to the limit with it. I think there are going to be some that go to the limit, but I don't think it's going to be, but yeah, no, it's going to be, yeah. But we have to look at it. We have to look at it. Everyone has to do that soul searching and that deep honesty with themselves about, come on, dude, you know right from wrong. And you know what's right and you know what's wrong. And it's a deep internal move. Like you were saying, people have to keep seeking, have to keep improving and that sort of thing and doing the work. So I appreciate you bringing that message forth.
All right. Now, Rita, you wrote something in the chat. Is your mic working?
Should be. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Gary. I was really fascinated when you said that you were a musician. And I wonder if, in cultivating a creative expression like that, to get really good at that, if that opens you to like your monitors, like you were talking about, if you think some of that creative expression might have led to your ability to make that kind of connection. I just wondered about that.
To some degree, probably so, because like I said, I was an electrical engineer in 1970, defense work, a conscientious objector. 2 years later, still all defense work. So I decided, well, I'm going to play music. I'm not going to join the defense industry. There was no really computers. I was good at computers. I wrote a Fortran program for a company in college, $1.40 an hour, got $3,000. Took me 9 months to write it. They made $1 million the first day. I guarantee. Uh, so yeah, but in college, I started going through all these changes and searching and wanting to know. And I encourage other people to do that because curiosity, my interest in curiosity, wanting to know, brought about, unknowing to me at the time, brought about the truth. Ask and you shall receive. Not everything, but the more we ask for. I asked my guides in 1977 when I started realizing what I realized all of a sudden how real they were. Took me a while to kind of come down from that. It took me several months to kind of come back down to earth because I was still feeling stuff all the time. But months later, after they told me why I had the experience, and years after that, because I was going through a lot of depression as a musician, I asked them to help me find a way to make a living. Ironically, and one thing led to another, but in 1980, through a girlfriend, I started playing with these big country dance hall country bands instead of traveling on the road, plus making a ton of money. It was 1980. I was off the road. I had a piano, no roommate, making money on the weekends. I practiced piano 12 hours a day just to have two instruments because I didn't want to be an expendable guitar player forever. I just wasn't a good singer. 5 years later, 4 years later, I talked my way into some piano bars and they hired me. And I still wasn't a good singer or a good player, but I could talk. I became a good entertainer. That's the moral of my story. It's all about what you can do, not what you can't do. I never asked my guides to help me wake up and sing like Paul McCartney or Ray Charles or Freddie Mercury. Ain't happening. Or to get a CD deal. I'm a musician. I know what it takes to stand out. I didn't have it. I just wanted to make a living playing and traveling rather than sitting in an office with a slide rule. That scared me to death. 1970 was slide rules, no computers, no calculators. So yeah, I ended up playing music, and that turned out to be quite a beautiful experience. Even though I never made it rich and famous, I got to travel, and they paid for me to travel and have fun. Not a bad gig. Never expected to get rich and famous, and didn't. But I was always grateful, happy, more than neurotic and frustrated. I conquered the depression, and I encourage everybody who goes through that sort of thing. It can be a temporary cycle. It can be a teaching cycle. If you never went through curveballs, challenges, you'd never learn how to bat in life. If everything worked flawlessly, you'd never learn how to recalibrate. Thank God for the good, bad, and the ugly, because we get to learn from all of them, not just what works. We get to work from what doesn't work, too. Be grateful. That's my point to the world. Be grateful, count your blessings, ask your guide to help you. You got to ask your guides. They know the rule. And like I said, the most prominent confirmation of that in my life was at the moment of the most intense moment of my life in 77. They asked me, "Do you trust us?" They had to get my permission. And of course, I agreed. Have no idea what might have happened if I said, "Nah, I don't think so. Let me go get a lawyer and think about this." No, trust you, God, the only thing that makes sense. Yeah, what's next? Have faith, ask, believe. But our guides do not call us on the phone or text us. They answer us through feelings, thoughts, things we might consider coincidences. I was just thinking about that, and now I'm seeing signs of it. That's cause and effect, not a coincidence. Believe in cause and effect.
All right. Now I see you, Harvey, but before I get to you, Harvey, because you're very verbose and we've included you already. I want to get to some people who haven't spoken yet. All right. I see you nodding your head. So let's talk to Jamie. Hello, Jamie. Are you there, Jamie? I'll ask you to unmute.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie. How did you discover us, Jamie?
Through the an email through the peer services like group.
Fantastic. And what do you think of Gary's presentation?
I think it's amazing. I happen to agree with everything he says. I work very closely with my guides as well. So I was like really excited to find this presentation. And what I wanted to ask though is, so I work with my guides and I thank them a lot, but in terms of asking them, right? What, like, are there specific ways to formulate your questions or ask them? Because I mean, I experience synchronicity constantly on a daily basis, always. But I have some like deeper probing questions to ask them. So like, is there a right way to phrase them or to ask them properly?
Personally, I think it's all in intentions. Our guides, our higher mind, the universe, they feel and know everything about us. We're exposed, but they're on our side. They're not making fun
Yes.
of us and so forth. But they do know the rule. And the rule is we came here with free will, and they do not have the right to come in and trample over it. You want to believe the earth is square? Go to town. You're dead wrong. Go to town. So, yeah, if you really want our guide to help, you have to ask them, and they're not going to call you on the phone. Again, they answer by coincidences or thoughts or feelings. Example.
And
2 days.
intuitions.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah.
2 days ago, I was given a reading, and right before I do, I always meditate, and especially on gratitude. And right in the middle of my little meditation, My lady's in the kitchen. She went bing on a pan. And I went, oh, thank you. That's confirmation. Bing, bing. I said, that's neat. That's how the universe talks to me. That's how you guides talk to me. Thank you, thank you. Bing, bing, bing. Instantaneously. That's not a coincidence. I'm saying gratitude and she's binging the pan saying, we got your message. That's how guides talk to us, through symbols, through feelings, through coincidences, through expression. And the more we tune into that, the better we get at being able to interpret the signs. I learned many years ago, actually about 18 years ago, I asked my guide to help me find stuff I kept misplacing, like car keys. I'm disabled. It's a little hard for me to walk around and look for stuff. And I don't anymore. If I miss something, be it a piece of paper with an appointment on it or a phone number or a car key, I just think about it for a moment or two. Guides just draw me to it, and they do. 5 years ago, I'm working in my garage on some piece of equipment. Had my car keys somewhere in this process. I emptied the recycling. Need to get some more tools out of my trunk. Couldn't find my car keys. And I just had them. So I meditated, leaned over. Okay, guys, I know my car keys are right here somewhere. I don't want to go look for them. Just show me where they are. Meditated for a moment, and then I thought the first thing I see when I open my eyes is going to be a sign to show me right where they are. Why not? May work, may not. But if I don't try it, I'll never know. And I opened my eyes, and there's a screwdriver between my feet that I left there. It's pointing over the recycle bin. I went, oh, wow. I dumped out the whole recycle bin. Yep, right at the very bottom of my keys. I had them in my hand. I'd have never looked there. I'd had to order a new set of keys. Believe that the universe can help you, assist you.
Oh, I know it can. I know. I
Yeah.
work with it very closely, very closely. But can I just say one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
I have a lot of experience with astral projection. And it usually happens because I have like hypnagogia a lot. Now, I don't intend to do it. Sometimes I do, but most times it's unintentional astral projection. Do you have any experience with that?
I think at some level I project and live on several different levels at once. Again, humans decide things. We decide this is astral projection, this is meditation, this is sleep. They're all human experiences, and we do have definitions so we know the difference between sleep and running. But bottom line, there's no limit to the different types of experiences. Where astral projection ends and another level of consciousness begins, it's a big gray line. And it's okay, because there's infinite amount of experiences, there are infinite amount of ways to go. And I never believe this. Any point in time and space where we are can be a port to infinite mind. I'd have never believed that or even thought that way had I not experienced it. That doesn't mean we got a switch on a remote to be able to go there and back, but it does mean that that's possible. How we get to that level, I always say curiosity, ask. The more you ask, the more you grow. The more you grow, the better you get at growing, the more you can take big steps. And bottom line, you don't need an NDE to know that you're connected to infinite mind. You just need to give that a chance and believe it, and look at everything we go through as how much it can teach us rather than how much it can haunt us or confuse us. That's the given. Benefit from it by choice, by attitude. Attitude's everything.
Now, Gary,
Thank you so much.
thank you, Jamie. Gary, can I share your email in the chat, the one that I have for you?
Sure.
Because, people will they'll think of something. Infinite mind, you guys. Angela Serio, are you there, Angela? All right, Angela, we'll give you another 10 seconds.
I'm here.
Angela, you must have something to say.
I just did in the chat.
What did you say?
I said it was a nice presentation and that I could relate to much of Gary's experience.
Do you have any questions for Gary?
No,
All right. So you're just going to sit back and enjoy then?
yes, thank you.
All right, Angela. Let's see. We have Chaplain James. Chaplain James, do you have any thing you want to share?
Many, many, many things. One, I'm honored to see Rita here this day. That's one thing. And Gary, I like the way you present because the way you present is the way I believe most humans that have these powers and gain these powers should be. Just do it. And you gain it mostly by accident, then you keep doing it, then you learn how to practice it and move on. So I agree with much of what you're saying. I also put my information in there. I think we should consult.
Well,
Oh, all right. Oh, go
the
ahead,
way,
Gary.
the way we think is the way life manifests. I remember when I first started reading Edgar Cayce, who's one of the most profound psychics ever. Mind is the creator, mind is the builder, and it is, you know. What starts in the mind will manifest in one level or another, maybe just in the imagination, maybe in the mind, maybe in physicality. But our intentions and our thoughts are very powerful. They set the stage for going from A to B to C. And in life, we go from A to B to C. And we don't always know how we're going to get to D, E, and F. And we can pretty well be assured that by making a good plan, it's a good start. But life will always give us some curveballs and changes and surprises to help us keep our eye on the ball, to help us keep awake. So, bottom line, I suggest people, we all go through fear, we all go through doubt. But if you never went through fear or doubt, you could never learn to conquer those. And I have to admit, I went through enough fear and doubt and depression. I'm fearless now. Nothing scares me. If it kills me, you go to heaven. If it doesn't, I can learn more and benefit. I make it a win-win anyway. Why not? It's by perspective.
All
Why not?
right. Harvey has to leave soon. Go ahead, Harvey.
Okay. So Gary, you just did something for me that was so fantastic. And you were talking about the colors. So you said that you stopped at blue. Is that correct?
What about blue?
Yes, you stopped at the color, seeing the color blue, and then returned through colors back to
Well, I
your.
went through the level of consciousness called the colors. They seem colorful, but they seem like a level of consciousness that, again, set us up as we come into this universe, set us up to be able to understand the universe through our own senses, plus higher level mind and so forth. When I ended up in infinite mind, it was infinite blue, sky blue
It
everywhere.
was blue. Mm-hmm.
It was just a lot, but you know, anybody could experience a different color. There's infinite ways to experience infinite mind.
I'm not certain about that, but you said something that really jarred me because I've been interested in this idea of the colors being different levels of vibration, which
Yeah,
is what they are.
right.
Okay. So if it's blue, the next color is violet. I don't buy this indigo thing, by the way. That was a
Well, that's the
reading.
that's the
Exactly.
electromagnetic
And
for
what
our
comes after
eyesight.
and what comes after violet is ultraviolet, which is something that we as human beings cannot experience.
True, but again, you're
And
talking about the physical realm of electromagnetic waves in the visible spectrum. Uh, Infinite mind includes every wave, every possibility. It's way beyond the limitations of that.
absolutely that. But what I'm getting at, and this, I've been an agnostic for many years of life after death. But what's been happening for me lately is trying to put it all together in something that works for me to understand what happens. and I think for me, you have given me a clue in that from this violet range of energy that we move to, when we die, we move into the ultraviolet and beyond in terms of vibration. And so that's where I'm coming from in terms of what I want to thank you so much for bringing this color thing up, because I've been playing around with how does this work, because that's always been my greatest curiosity, if you will. You know, where do we go when we die? And
Everywhere.
we go to a higher vibration is for me the answer, and it makes sense to me.
Oh yeah,
And
it's infinite
thank
mind.
you.
We are infinite mind seeing itself as
And
individuals.
infinite mind is all vibration, of course.
It's all experience, vibration, and a challenge, and we're part of it. We have limited possibilities in a certain life. We're limited by genes, history, culture, you name it. But our mind, our heart, our soul, our ability to tap into infinite mind, that is unlimited.
Yeah.
Period. The within is unlimited.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you, Gary, for what you gave me today, and thank you, Dan, for bringing this together, and thank you all for being here today. I love all of you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Harvey. Nice having you, and happy trails. Jen, we haven't heard from you, Jen. Can you go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me? Let me get my video on. Sorry, I was looking at something else. I was looking for the app to open this up. Gary, thank you so much for being on this in this terrific program. I know that, you know, the peer group and the leader here, he's right front center, does a whole lot of stuff for the national peer community, and I for one appreciate that. I've known him for quite some time, and I always like seeing new people and hearing his story. And I think everything you've gone through as a musician and as an artist and as a um partner and an intuitive, and having been in the hospital, you know, I mean, I get that. I relate to that. So I just want to tell you thanks. You know, I guess I don't really have any questions. I just came on to listen. Um, I used to have a stronger connection with my guides, I guess if you want to call it that. It wasn't until I got really active with working with peer supports and mental health in general, did I lose that connection with my guides, if you want to call it that much. I don't know why. Because on multiple fronts, I became stronger, and I became more stronger in my sense of spirituality and the way that I worship and seek it out uh all the time. But I don't know why it won't come back. But when I did have access to them, it was pretty amazing. And I miss it. I don't know if it's going to come back. I don't think it's anything you can force or make to come back there and you're accessing it or not, unfortunately. So, like Harvey and you and Jamie and I know Rita is very intuitive, and the amount of talent that we bring to the communities that we live and we work with and we play with is enormous. So I just want to thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing you more and seeing what comes of it. And you have books. I'm going to check out your books.
May I make a comment, Jen?
Yes.
First of all, life is always cycles, always will be, always has been. No cycles, no life, no planets, no nothing. So life is always cycles. And yeah, we go through periods when we practice something, learn it, feel familiar, and then maybe feel foreign about it. Maybe take a deeper course, maybe give it up. We can change. But just because you didn't feel your guides yesterday doesn't mean you can't reinvite them today. We all
That's
go through
true.
cycles. Once I realized in 77 how real they were, I never quit asking them for help. I don't get everything I asked for, but I never asked to sing like Ray Charles, so that was out of the question. I never asked to be a
Mm,
rock star. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I just
mm,
asked to help me find some gigs and make a decent living. As an adult, I'm 76. I'll be 77 here in a week. I never once in my whole adult life of playing music was booked up for more than a month ahead, usually a week, couple weeks.
mm, mm.
But I did learn to live on the faith of if I do my part, the rent will come in, it'll be due, I'll have it. And it kept proving itself to be true. You know, I'd have $200 in my pocket and a $150 gig this week, and bills are paid. Why go look for a job? I like playing music. Uh, so yeah, we make choices in life, and some things we get, some we don't, but there's no limit to how much we can grow and learn. And if A or B or C doesn't work, maybe D, E, and F can. Never give up hope to return onto your guides to grow, evolve. Just remember, it all happens in cycles, period.
In cycles. That's good to hear. Thanks. Yeah,
Always,
you know, it's
always.
like, yeah. And Dev, I'm just curious. Whenever I used to access then my guides more easily, it was always surrounded around death and losing people. And for some reason that made me more sensitive to be able to access it. And when that doesn't since I haven't experienced that except for losing someone very important to me recently, it didn't really affect. But in terms of my guides, what I've been able to do since I haven't been able to access my guides is I pray an awful lot. And I pray to my higher power, I pray to my God, you know, in my different types of faith and worship. So it seems to satisfy that. But that one deep connection that I used to have with my guides,
Quit
it's
saying it in past
it's
tense.
not particularly mutual with what I'm doing now.
Yeah, but quit saying it in the past tense. You harden that cement every time you say used to can't. That was yesterday. Start
Mm.
thinking in terms of now and today and tomorrow. Oh, maybe I had the remote switch off. Let me just turn the power on. Duh, you know. But that's a choice. You can stay in the thought of they used to talk to me, now they're not, or you can stay in the thought of they used to talk to me, now they're not. Maybe I have to retune the radio. Maybe it's not
There
them.
you go. I have to reach in. I have to
Retune
reach.
your radio.
I think I need to reach in.
Oh yeah,
You
we all
you
do.
know,
You don't
you
clean off
know,
your glasses, you don't see. You don't change your oil in your car, you burn the motor up. You don't upgrade, you get upgrades by whatever life slaps you around. Be proactive and make the upgrade and the growth a positive, learning, beneficial experience. Why not? Same situation, different point of view, different results.
I'm gonna give it a go. Thank you. Thanks for that.
All right. Tiffany, you had your hand up for a brief spell. Was that an accident?
It wasn't an accident. I just decided that I wasn't going to say anything.
Are you sticking to that decision?
Well, no, I was saying I like I was recognizing where Jen is coming from, because I think sometimes when we're in this type of work, it's a lot coming at us, and it's emotional content, and it's helpless content. It's a oftentimes it's a, for me, what I've noticed when Jen says that, is
Well,
yeah,
give
it's a
give Gary a
situation.
little background on what this work is all about.
Well, it depends upon who you're working with. You're working with people who have been in, and standing alongside people
I,
who have
I mean, Gary
others.
might not know anything about peer support.
Well, that's why I'm telling them about peer
All
support
right.
now. Okay. Um, so you're standing alongside folks who have had you know, either experiences with mental health challenges or addiction or family members of these folks. And it can be a lot. So where was my train of thought there? Um, so hearing Jen say that, it just gives me an idea about when I think of what you do and what Jen's saying, I can see how this work can kind of cloud intuition or require extra visits to the intuition tuner. You know, that's what I wanted to say. Mhm.
All right, all right. Now let's see. Rita, please don't make me dig your comment in the in the chat.
Oh,
Speak.
I was just gonna say, when Jen said she felt a little disconnected, it's because we become, for other people, those guides or monitors, and if we aren't connected ourselves, then it's really hard for us to be really good guides to others, but it becomes a sole focus for us to help others, you know? So I can absolutely see where Jen was coming from, totally.
Gary, oh, go ahead, Gary.
I was just going to say there's no limit to how much we can learn, whether it's no matter what it's about, because knowledge is power. Bottom line, no matter what you're talking about, if you have more knowledge in that department, you're going to make a better decision. And guess what? Our internal mind, spirituality, is unlimited. It really is. And again, I encourage people to turn that light on, ask your guides, meditate. I asked my guides to help me find cars and gigs and girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. We don't get everything, but the more we think that way, the more it becomes second nature. And then you're not trying to find your guides. You feel them talking to you. You feel them in your presence all the time. They're just not going to call us on the phone. And they're not going to manifest a body so they can whisper in our ear. They talk to us through feelings and thoughts and things we might think of as coincidences. Wow, I was just thinking about that and this manifested. It's our intentions. Number one, we can always change our intentions, and our intentions are like fresh seeds. You plant them, they start bringing up fresh possibilities, you know. Have faith, believe.
So, Gary, we have about 8 billion people on planet Earth. Now, do all 8 billion of us have, is it just one lead guide or a whole bunch of guides
We
like
have a
you
whole
have?
we have a whole bunch of guides. The irony is on this planet or in time and space, we count things, we separate things. There's one you, one me, there's one tree, there's 5 billion flies. Things have numbers and limits because it's time and space. But when we get into beyond time and space, things aren't so conveniently just divided up. We may have one guide or 50 guides, but when we think in terms of one or 50, as humans, it gives us some sort of basis. You got one piece of pie or 10 piece of pie. You got one kid or 5 kids. It helps us deal with the practical nature of being alive. But they don't follow that same number. There's 10 billion species of life on this planet. There's 10 billion or more. There's infinite number of levels of higher consciousness. We can tap into some of them, all of them, but they're all different and they're all offer different things to the evolutionary process, just like every biological thing on the planet offers something to the evolutionary process of life.
Are there guides for human beings, but are there guides for every form of life, like amoebas and kangaroos and
Well,
elephants?
they're all spirit in fact their essence, but they don't have free will and self-awareness like humans be. We are unique in that on this animal kingdom on this planet. However, we're not unique in the universe. There's a lot of higher mind, a lot of manifestations in other areas, other realms. Maybe not all carbon based or water based. Maybe they live an etheric possible. In fact, Edgar Cayce talks a lot about sojourns to other planets, picking up the vibratory astrological influence, which is exactly what I felt when my soul went expanded infinitely and contracted infinitely. Um, that's how we learn. Infinite levels, we divide things up. But even so, I asked my guides to talk to me. I saw 7 of them as monitors, not 38, not one. But it's kind of for our convenience that we see things in terms of numbers and separation, because that's how things appear on this planet. That doesn't mean they operate the same level on the other side. It just means that's how we see them. And that's cool.
Gary, so the purpose of the guides, is it just to steer us toward love?
Basically, in a lot of levels, because as most people who've had near-death experiences agree upon, that's the only thing in common is infinite love. We all came from there. We're all headed back there. No other place to come from, no other place to return to. But in between, we can go through a lot of circuses, good, bad, and ugly, and so forth. But really, it's all one experience. Now, you and me and all as individuals, we have a slightly different path, view, experience. And that's a good thing. There's no two things can occupy the same spot in time and space. Everything is unique. Everything experienced is unique. But collectively, it's all infinite mind seeing itself. And so if we kind of participate in that extraordinary, beautiful, empowering thought, we take a lot of burden off things we can't understand, off feelings of isolation, feelings of loneliness. We can improve our life, our mental health, our stability, our belief, just like you can improve your golf game. How? You decide and you practice.
Now,
Period.
Gary, it's Halloween season, so I have to ask this question about guides. There are some people in the world who cause a lot of suffering, like serial killers and
Oh,
mass
yeah.
murderers. Do they also have guides that are steering them toward that behavior?
I asked my favorite, there's a lady that taught me lithomancy many years ago. Met her in 1980. She was the most gifted psychic I've ever known. We became very close personal friends from 1980 to when she passed away about 6, 7 years ago. I asked her about all kinds of people in my life, different relationships. I asked her about my guides. Yeah, so we all have varying different experiences and varying ways of seeing our guides and maybe different personalities from them. But it's kind of tailored toward our mindset, our experience, so they can communicate with us. They want to communicate with us. They want to help us. But we have to ask them, because otherwise they'll be trampling on our free will, and that's not what they do. They will not do that.
All right, so guides aren't they operate in a way where there's choice for the human, right?
Absolutely, every time, all the time. Free will. We may or may not be able to change our situation. We can't change our genes. You can't change the past. You can't change other people. You can't change the way galaxies line up in the universe. There's billions of things we can't change. That doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is what we can change. That's power. And we can always grow, evolve, learn more, benefit, curveballs, good, bad, and ugly, and all. And having gone through so much depression and loneliness and anxiety and fear and doubt, I have to admit, if you didn't go through those, you'd never learn how to deal with those. And
Hmm.
I'm basically fearless now, knock on wood, but I ain't gonna go look for something to confirm to me I should still have fear. You know?
Oh, fear. That's one thing that
Yeah, but it teaches us
affects.
to become fearless. If you never went through fear, you can never become fearless. Lighten up. It's an experience. It's liberation.
Good perspective. I see your hand, Tiffany, but I want to get to some newcomers, okay? So we see, I think Catherine G put something in the chat. You there, Catherine G? I'll ask you to unmute.
Yeah, hi. I'm at work, so I was a little distracted. But I think it's a pretty fascinating conversation. And sometimes I think that it can also be about respect, like, and I know that the Serenity Prayer has helped me, and the concept of a higher power, because initially I had kind of estranged myself from a higher power, or for some time, not initially, but for some time. And I said to my brother, who I totally loved and admired, I said, today that rock is my higher power. He said, you can't do that. And then one morning it was a spare tire on the back of a Jeep. So I was going through some stuff. I said, there's my higher power for that moment, because that's what was helping me through my difficulty. And I'm so thankful for my eyesight that I can have these they're kind of like stepping stones, you know. And so when I respect all of the wonderful things that are around me, I find that they become more and more available to me. These wonderful aspects of higher power, you know, as opposed to lower, where I've dwelt for much time too. So, thanks.
Well, Catherine G, I'm very happy that you joined us. And I think, are you the person who's a home health aide?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, all right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we got Milton. Are you there, Milton? Can you hear me? Milton, please. We're waiting on you, Milton. All right, Milton. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I was wondering, what do you think about this? Because you said there, you pointed out that like we don't have any control over the wind and the this and the storms and those stuff like that. And if there is a God that's intelligence or a universal intelligence, right? I wonder if it gave us free will, and I want to ask you about that. What do you think? If it gave us free will because we can't control anything else.
I personally think free will is the greatest gift we have because we can control how we interpret life, and that's the real key. It's not, we can't change everything to fit our preconceived notions or our best, what we'd like to have happen. Uh, we have limited power over so much, but nobody has any more power than us over how we see life, over how we grow, over how we make choices. And if you never went through dilemmas, challenges, fears, doubts, which I look at all that and negative emotions as something like a fire alarm. It's saying, hey, there's a fire in the bathroom, go put the fire out, then cut the alarm off. It served its purpose. You know, when we go through things in life, life's trying to help us and show us. And our guides are always tapping on our shoulder, always talking to us, especially now with all this world chaos going on. It's not in vain, but our guides cannot force us to answer the phone and grow and heed the call and benefit and make better decisions and make it a better life for everybody. They can't force us, but they are tapping us on the shoulder. And so if those of you folks feel like you're being tapped on the shoulder, it's not your imagination. It's your guides saying, hey, want to tune in? But we get to choose whether to commit, tune in, grow, evolve, or not. Period. Fact. Choice.
With that, well, I want to ask you, um, did you do a lot of emotional work to get to this point? Like, did you have to go through a lot of emotional healing and things like that to be able to listen more thoroughly?
I think so. I was the third of 7 sons. I have two older brothers born December 8th, exactly a year apart, a double and a triple Sagittarius. My dad's a Sagittarius. My two brothers born 45, 46, December 8th. I was born November 8th, 47, double Scorpio. I'm extremely oversensitive, always have been. And I noticed at a very young age that I did not have the same mentality of my brothers of competitiveness and wanting to win and Sagittarius energy. I've always noticed I was very introspective. Spent a lot of time by myself. My mother used to always say, your brothers are over there fighting and they get tired of fighting with each other. They come over and start terrorizing you. And I'd go walk off and do something by myself. So I avoided conflict as much as possible. My other brothers, they participated in it. They loved it. Uh, so I learned from observation a lot to not go put my hand in the blender or the grinder by seeing other people do it and went, nah, not for me. We can learn a lot in life by just paying attention, period. That's the first step. And of course, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, growing, meditating, asking your guides to help, that matters. You put those intentions into your mind, into your heart.
I spell psychic.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You put those intentions in your mind to grow, to solve problems, be part of the solution. You'll get information about how to bring that into play. Period. Fact.
All right, we have about 10 minutes left, Gary. So I thought we will do this little exercise where I ask everyone to say in just a few words how they're feeling right at this moment. And we'll start with Cecilia. How are you feeling at this moment, Cecilia?
I feel lifted. Your mentioning of being intentional and inquisitive about a higher consciousness has just pow, it's just an explosion over here. So it's an explosion over here in California in my mind, and my quest for that higher consciousness, that level of conformity that I can seek, and like you say, is unlimited. It's just incredible.
All right, well, thank you for that, Cecilia. Tiffany, how are you feeling in a few words?
I'm feeling quite glad and um feeling the different variations of glad and a little sadness because the meeting's going to end and we didn't get to solve all of the problems of the universe right now. Um, but I'm excited to get off of here as well. The
All right.
paradoxes.
Yes, indubitably. Angela Cirio, how are you feeling right now?
Pretty good. I just
Eh,
want to wish everybody a nice week.
Thank you, Angela, very much. All right, Chaplain James, how are you feeling right now?
I feel vindicated.
What does that mean exactly? I forgot. What does that mean?
I feel relevant. That's a word that might be more
Oh,
to your
yes.
understanding.
So you feel relevant. I understand that. Yeah, that's good. How come you feel relevant?
Because Gary has verified a lot of my thinking, a major lot of my thinking.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Chaplain James. Jamie, how you feeling right now, Jamie?
I am feeling connected, grateful, blessed, open. Gary too also just confirms the path that I've been on for years and years and years and years and years. And I appreciate his talk of the double Sagittarius and the double Scorpio, because that's the question I put in the chat, if he follows astrology, because I've been a practicing astrologer forever. And he definitely showed me that, yes, he does, because that's where all the cycles, that's all the cycles.
And that's another synchronicity in psychic connection, because I don't think Gary saw your question in the chat, but he brought it up anyway, right?
Exactly.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, Milton, how you feeling right now, Milton?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's very good. From what I've caught of it, it was pretty informative. So I feel informed. That's the best word to use.
Beautiful. Now, I saw your question in the chat, Milton, and actually Gary discussed that earlier. We're going to put a video out. So if I get your email, I'll send you the video and you can watch that whole section where Gary talks about psychiatric experiences, okay?
Definitely, so I'd appreciate that.
All right. Let's see. Catherine G., how about you? How are you feeling, Catherine G.?
Hi, intrigued, and I'd like to hear more. Are these sessions recorded?
Yes, it's being recorded. So if I get your email, I'll send you the copy of the video.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Because you missed like an hour. So I think you'll have some fun with a whole hour of of talk.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so now we have did I miss anyone, you guys? I don't Rita, I'm sorry. Rita, how are you feeling right now, Rita?
Good. Validated, number one, for some similar kinds of experiences, and grateful because he brought gratitude back to my arsenal of ways to connect with my guides. So I really appreciated that.
Beautiful. All right, so we have like 4 minutes left. So Gary, I want to give you the space within the next 4 minutes to whatever comes up in your spirit that you want to share with us.
We're in a very challenging, life-changing, transformative time. As all you astrologers might already know, of course, is Pluto, the planet of extremes, is certainly affecting our whole human race because we're all going through such extremes, politically, environmentally, socially. But guess what? That's how we see what needs to be addressed and fixed, both on a collective level, whether it's big governments or world countries or world mindsets, or down to an individual level, personal, and everywhere in between. We're going through this big world change, not to get screwed over, but to see what needs to be worked on, because there ain't no accidents, and there ain't no coincidences. And we're here because we were given free will and an opportunity to exist as independent human beings. Good. What a beautiful gift. We all have different powers, strengths, beliefs, experiences, but we can all grow, evolve, learn, turn mud into adobe, turn the worst things into luck, turn life, regardless of what it presents us, into a learning experience, into benefit. We can't change a lot of stuff we're going to face. We might as well just be open. Bottom line, if it kills you, you're in heaven, problem solved, you know. And if you're still here, we get to be smarter and wiser and learn more. Make it a win-win either way, by choice, by practice. And having gone through enough fear and doubt and confusion, I know for a fact that those can all be temporary conditions, and we can learn to see the light. In fact, that's what the light's trying to do. Tap us all on the shoulder, all across the planet, everybody. Be part of the solution, the problem, ask the right questions. But bottom line, we get to choose whether to heed that call, benefit, grow, evolve, learn, make it a better world, or not. Choose wisely, open the door, have faith.
Thank you, Gary. Tiffany and Cecilia, you want to close this out?
Everything Gary said, I'm echoing everything Gary said as we close out. Thank you all.